Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. This is one of my Ficus Microcarpa. It has seen its better days for sure. I was starting to train this as a cascade. It was looking really good at one point. It is one of the trees that I've just been kind of watering and not keeping up with. I've been trying to let it mature, and I was actually trying to get these branches to mature a little bit and have it ready for a nicer cascade pot that I had for it. The health just started really declining, and I think it even started getting a lot worse. A few months ago, I went and I just kind of pulled it up out of this. It's in just a flimsy cut-off pot. It was nice and snug in there, and I just pulled the roots up just to kind of have a look. And then I think, and this is just an observance, a theory, it's nothing I've ever read or anything, but I think when you have, you know, like a tree like this in something that's kind of flimsy and doesn't have much, that has like a lot of give to it, rather, I feel like once I broke that bond, it just never really got bound again. And now when I water it, the root ball soaks some of it up, but I think so much of it just leaks around the sides. Doesn't really take up the water the way it's supposed to. It's also one of the last cuttings that I have that's still in almost all organic soil. You'll probably see a few chunks of substrate in there, and that's just where I've kind of topped it off in the past and everything. I'm going to go ahead and just cut it way back today. When I cut it way back and I'm going to repot it, usually I cut things back and I kind of wait for them to recover, but I think this thing is just screaming for some better soil to be in. I may consider just kind of taking it and making it not a cascade anymore, changing the angle of it, but I'll worry about that once I start the repotting process. A couple of these I'm going to cut all the way off. And usually my theory is, and so the idea, usually people say to repot tropicals when it's warm, and then I've actually seen a lot of people either completely defoliate or hard prune and then pot at the same time. But my thought is that right when you prune or right when you defoliate, it's not really pushing the buds just right at that particular time. And so usually if I'm going to do a hard prune and then a repot, I've been taking, especially with ficus, I've been taking and doing the hard prune and then waiting for the bud back and the bud swell, if you will, and then repotting it kind of with the idea of a deciduous, of that when it's pushing those buds, it's going to start pushing roots and everything too. This one, I think with the thickness of the trunk and with me leaving a little foliage on it, it should be okay. Well, my idea there is I wanted to cut that way back, but I did leave that one growing tip like right there. This one I am going to just go ahead and just cut. And I'll probably leave this group up here too. Like even here you can see where this branch, there we go, that branch is dying back all the way, and then there's like a little bud right there. So I'm trying to save some life on it. This thing's got really a ton of dieback. I mean, I can tell from the healthy growth coming out of the top here, it's not going to die. I just not really all that sure why it got so weak, other than my theory of when I check the roots. That has a little tip there that might be worth saving, but it's growing straight down no matter how I angle the pot. Well, let's get it in some better soil and see what it looks like. Alright, so we already know what it looks like there. And I got my root hook here, but I tell you guys all the time I like to break things up with my hands if I can. Use the root hook if need be. Sometimes when you use tools you can't feel exactly what it is, what direction it is your resistance is coming from, or you can a lot easier when you use your hands. And also I think, with some traditional repotting videos, it's the part of the reason why I even started this channel is to do tropicals, because they're always doing the conifers up north, and it's just a whole completely different dynamic than really tropicals are. It's really dry and it really poured last night. That's another reason as I was just trying to decide what it was I was going to do today. It's another reason why I actually picked this for today's project, is I did take a look at it and I saw how dry it was, and everything else I was looking at was really, you know, looking nice and moist. And I do think even in that hard pouring rain, all that rain just kind of goes right around, finds the easiest way out, and doesn't really soak in once it breaks that root bound. It should really work out well, actually. I noticed on the Microcarpa, they don't get a huge taproot. I mean, that thing has actually been in that training pot for a while. I haven't, I don't think I've repotted it since I started the YouTube channel, which has been almost 2 years now. And I know sometimes when I try to work and talk, I start those thoughts and then I don't finish them. But my thought was that they don't get the huge aggressive roots like you see on a Benjamin or even the tiger bark variety of Microcarpa. They seem to get a lot of white, you know, little fine roots, which is what we want. But then they don't really seem to stretch out the Nabari all that much either. It just seems, or, you know, should I say, they don't seem to get those type of roots as quickly. It does get them, it just doesn't get them as quickly as those other varieties do. Of course, the Benjamina that I have, the variety that I have, kind of gets the big bulbous roots on it too. I was going to put it in a bulb pan, but now I really want to think about it a little bit. I am going to go ahead. You've been watching my channel for a little while. Once I get, especially with the Microcarpa, once I get them kind of down and root pruned like that, I go ahead and bare root it a little bit better. So I am going to go out and rinse it off and see what we got when I come back in and decide what kind of a pot I want to put it in. All right, and there we go. I got it bare rooted. I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize I was up that high, but got it bare rooted. Looks a little more healthy than I thought. And now that I do have it all trimmed up like that, I think I'm going to try to get it in a decent pot. I hate to keep changing my mind like that. But it is a nice thick trunk. And if I just kind of give up on the Cascade and, you know, shade it properly till it recovers, it should be just fine. I did realize part of the reason why I didn't really like, I had it leaning this way for the Cascade, and part of the reason I didn't really like that is there's this root there that's obviously crossing. And it's just always made that side not look very good. This one I broke when I was repotted, when I was bare rooting it. And then on this other side here, I got this. I get this aerial root crossing under those two. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring it around and see if I can get something in there to hold it to where it's not crossing anymore. Or I'm just going to eliminate it. And there we go. And I actually thought I would have to put on something on there to hold it that way. But I think just depending on how I tie it in the pot, I may be able to just kind of leave it like that. All right, that's looking much better without that tucked under there, and then without the crossing root in the back. All right, let me do this real quick too. Usually when I bring them out to bare root them, I bring these out as well. I just left them in here and just figured I could do it when I got back in. All right, I could tell I had the camera at a really strange angle there. And so I just went ahead and got my wire and my tie downs ready while I adjusted that too. I got a screen in there. It's a very unique shaped pot. And so it wasn't quite big enough for one of the screens that I had pre-cut, so I just cut a piece off of an older one. He's got 4 tie down holes in here, which is great. And I just used 2 of them to tie the screen in. And then I'm going to use 2 for the tree and just get enough substrate. It's a small enough tree, small enough pot to where I should be able to get plenty of it under there, but I do want to make sure I get enough in there to cover the screen up and everything. And All right, now I'm going to get a little more substrate in there just to make sure I get that one aerial root where I want it to, and it'll actually even hold it a little more steady as I tie the tie in. All right, nice and secure in the pot. You guys can see those aerial roots no longer on top of each other. All right, that may have worked out a little better than I thought it was. Actually, a ton better. That's nothing what I had envisioned for the day. I thought I was just going to get in a training pot. But either way, I'm going to clean it up a little bit more. I have been leaving this growth on there just for health. I think that's kind of unnecessary now at this point. This I'm going to take off. Thought about just letting that die back, but I'll cut the end of it off there. And then with my new idea of definitely not making it a cascade, I think that keeping this may be a little overkill here. So I'll go ahead and do that and shorten that up some. Just save that for some movement. I can always chop it back more one day if I want to. I will leave this for now. Yeah, I almost just changed my mind on that, but I think I will go ahead and leave that for now. And then I got this branch here and this little piece. I was thinking about cutting that off, but just in case that decides to sprout from there, I don't see why I wouldn't just go ahead and leave it. This was nearly impossible to get to without holding this branch down here. I did take the knob cutters to do that some. You can see here in the middle where they're starting to kind of grow together some, but around here that was just caking up with some dead material. So now that'll continue to callus over, especially now that it'll have a better apex coming up. You can even see some buds there. This thing was getting ready to put out some fruit. I did notice sometimes when they get stressed, they put out some fruit. And then this one here, I think I will. It's just an old stub there. That growth will help smooth that out some, but that was almost out at a right angle, and with me cutting that off, that'll just kind of hurry that up a little bit. All right, can't wait to update you guys and see what this looks like in the future.